Pryce is a sound engineer of sound engineers. He is really blessed, and we have connected over the last few years through the Unstoppable Worship, which started in 2009 as Worship Unplugged, and then we changed the name to Unstoppable Worship. So he was with me over the last maybe 5 years or so, minus 2 COVID years. And we have traveled to Clarendon, we have traveled
All
to
over.
Mandeville, Kingston. I'm really respect him. I wish I had all of his knowledge. Between him and Heron Henry, the two most foremost engineers in the church circles, two blessed men. And he is an audio engineer. He has worked with a number of prominent persons, both in Christendom and also out there in the world. So he can tell you more about that. But he has another appointment. So I'm going to give him time to talk to us today about finding frequency, and all things sound. Anything else that he wants to jump in, folks, just sit at his feet and just get everything right now. We're recording this session and we're going to edit it and upload to YouTube so the generation, the world can know. So, Paul Pryce, all over to you, sir. Welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, yes, sir. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So good to be here, even though my time is limited because of circumstances beyond my control. Wish I had more time, but I would prefer to do all of this in person. I prefer the practical than the online thing because you learn more in the physical. You understand? Because you can prepare and run demonstration, and I think you with equalization and frequency you will learn better with hands-on, right? But we're going to do a brief run through on frequency and equalization with the limited time I have. All right. So, like Brother Tyrell said, I've been in circle a long time. I don't really like the hype thing. Just a humble servant, man behind the scene, right? I've worked locally and overseas with a lot of prominent artists, both on the local circle and internationally. And like myself, I don't really like to brag about them things. Just the work I got, we focus on. First of all, I always like to tell people that being an engineer within the gospel circle, that you must consider it your ministry. First and foremost, it is a ministry. And whatever you do as unto God, not unto man. You understand? And this is one of the most unforgiving department in any assembly, because normally the only time you recognize is when something goes wrong, right? But aside from that, right, you must just focus on Jesus and your stuff. And to God be the glory for everything he has done, right? So we start by going into the frequency. What is frequency? Frequency, to me, break it down to layman's term, is sound you hear, right? And it is generated by vibrations through the air, water, liquid, or solid, right? And it is measured in hertz within a specific time, right? So the nominal is what they call a cycle. That means a time it goes up and come down within 1 second. That's what it is measured within the hertz. Lower tones fall within the hertz scale, and the mid and higher frequencies fall within the kilohertz. It's measured in kilohertz, right? I must say, frequency is a number of occurrence of repeated events in a unit of time. That is it. That is it. Where frequency is concerned, and that is what they hear. So everything, musical instrument, vocals, every sound you hear is caused by frequencies. Human ears register between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. That's what the scientist says, right? And that is the nominal base frequencies for human listening, right? So, so ears perceive. Some people can hear a bit lower, some people can hear a bit higher, but the nominal is between 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. That is the normal frequencies spectrum which we fall under. But like I said, we don't have enough time to go into the details because each section that where sound is concerned take up a whole, you can't do it within a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. That will be a continuous thing, right? So we just have a brief synopsis of everything, right? So that is frequency now. And we go to the meter for virgin now, the equalizer, right? I don't know, the equalizer, majority of you might know, is our little friend, the engineer's best friend, one of, right? And that is used to tailor frequencies to specifics of the engineer, right? You have the, and then, sorry about that, the equalizer. You have different types of equalizer. You have the parametric equalizers, you have semi-parametric equalizers, and you have the graphic equalizers, right? And then the graphic equalizers can be broken down into 1/3 octave, 2/3 octaves, and 1 octave EQs, right? We'll try to brush on them quickly, right? The most common one we always encounter first is the parametric, which is on the basic mixer, right? On the mixing board, you say eyes, I don't know if we can, oopsie. I wanted to get the physical one, but unfortunately I don't have a physical one. It's not gonna work out. The basic, oh, give me a second, pass the mixer for me, please. Oh, I just remember I have a sample that I was working on.
Okay, so Paul,
yeah.
While you wait on the mixer, you could just turn the fan. We're hearing the fan blowing
Oh,
into
sorry about that.
the mic a little. Just turn it a little. So, folks, we're sitting at the feet of Paul, and we see the mixer behind him with the another engineer. I would be scared to see that engineer at my church, so I'd rather see Paul than that engineer behind you, Paul.
Eh?
That engineer behind you is very scary.
Oh, the game changer.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Okay. I guess. So, you can see it?
Yes, sir.
The virtual background is challenging.
Well, let's see if we can remove that. Much better?
Much better.
Okay. All right. So this is a basic mixing board, right? And this section here now is the equalizer section on the mixing board, and this is what we call a parametric EQ. It's a parametric EQ, right? So you have the high, the mid frequency, the mid volume, and the low, right? So what that does is tailors the whatever frequency you're inputting, you get on the input to the specific what you want, right? So yeah, so let me say, and that work, the parametric works like for instance, it's you select 1 octave. It's an octave, and you work within that, you tailor that octave to your liking, right? So if you have, for instance, too much hissing, you can cut with eyes on the mixing board, which is a parametric, right? The mid section, likewise, and the bass section, likewise. But that is just basic tuning, right? When you go deeper into more professional setting where we use a graphic equalizer, right? Something like this, right? This is a graphic equalizer. This is more common in the professional circles, right? It's a 1/3 octave EQ equalizer, right? And it breaks down the frequencies into the bass, mid-range, and the high-end, right? The bass section on the equalizer start between 20 Hertz to 300 Hertz. And the mid-range is from 300 Hertz to around 1K or 5K thereabout. And the high-end, it depends. And the high-end start from 5K to 20K. Right? Let me say, and so, my second, please. All right. So, and then now the graphic equalizer itself now give you a wider and more control over your frequencies. Like I said before, I prefer to do these things live because I have the actual thing I can set up and we can run through and the different frequencies. So you can know the different frequencies. Online, you have different YouTube videos and so forth you can learn from, as well as other softwares also. They can teach you the frequencies, right? So the onus is on you also to go online if once you're interested, to do a little more reading, a little more watching, and then you have to practice all the way you see and learn, right? When we use the EQ now, like we say, it's our friend that in the live setting. Live setting means a live church setting, or a stage show or concert. It's one of our friend that is our best friend, I should say. So therefore, we have to deal with a wider frequency and more tailored and narrow frequencies in order to get the particular sound we might want. We don't need cut, right? So the equalizer basically functions as a boost or cut in a frequency, right? One of our main concern in church most of the time is feedbacks, and feedbacks cause when the mic picks up a particular frequency, right, and send it back through the system, and then pick it up back again, and that particular frequency keep going around and around. That's why you get a feedback, right? Once you know your frequencies on the equalizer, the normal thing for us what we used to do back in the day is just cut everything, right? But if you know your equalizer and you have a 1/3 of the equalizer, you know your frequencies, you know by listening to the feedback, you know what frequency that feedback is in. And you can just cut that frequency, right? 1/3 octave means that the frequency which you use, right, it doubles as you go up or go back down the frequency scale. So for instance, if you're working with 100 Hertz, 1 octave will fall between 100 and 200 Hertz. And each frequency, likewise, is a doubling of the frequencies, right? Normally, when you look at some people equalize, they see them a smiley face or a sad face. You understand? Well, I could never understand that, right? Because each of them have a purpose, right? But like I say, each knob controls a specific frequency between 20 Hertz and 20 kilohertz, right? So between 100 and 200 hertz is 125 or 160 hertz. So if you should cut, if you are working to cut 100 hertz, right? If you see a graphic impression of that cut, you will see how it creates a V. So that means it affects both frequencies, second and third frequencies on both sides of that one frequency, which you cut, right? If you boost, likewise. But in our line of work, our thing is first line of thing is to cut, not to boost. You understand? I try to keep the spectrum as flat as possible. So like I said, that's a 1/3, and the 1/3 is what is the 31 band equalizer. It's a long one. You always say we recommend most people to get. Even though we're moving into the digital age now, so people don't really buy them thing anymore. So everything will come digital, so it have built-in. Most mixing board come a built-in 1/3 octave equalizer, and that's along with the parametric for the channel strips, right? And like I said, Brother Terry gonna organize it, and we're gonna have a day where we can come in and set up the mixing board, set up a tone generator, and then we can do a decent session. You understand? Because like I said, talking about this now, I'm going to use a little synopsis of what it really is, but seeing the physical thing, trying it for yourself, creating and demonstrating, you're more effective. It's a more effective way of dealing with it. You understand? See? So Brother Tilga, as soon as them came to them, well, them start allow a good amount of people still to start gather. So you know, so Brother Tilga organize a workshop one day, soon. Right, Brother Tyrell?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So, and then now we can bring in the necessary stuff, and then we'll set up, and then now we can have a proper run through of what all of this is. And that's it. Because sometimes, to me, talking about it isn't really, you know, but to do the physical, you understand? To do the physical setup and the physical demonstration, and have you come in and do it yourself, to me, it makes you learn much better. You understand? So to me, the hands-on training is better, right? So even if you show your picture, you still not have a clue. But once you have the physical stuff that is there, you can say, oh, and then we send a signal through, and we create a feedback, and we show you how to cut. We have a musician playing, and we show you how to tune the equalizer, the parametric equalizer for that person, and the channel and the mixing board, right? And then we move from the channel to the graphic and the output stage. And I should point out, parametric EQs are mostly used on the input stage of a signal chain, and the graphic is used on the output stage. That go to the main system, the main PA system, and your monitors, right? Because those are two troublemakers within live sound will cause a lot of feedback. So therefore, we need that bandwidth in order to tailor the frequencies. Because you have to remember now, if we have a parametric there, and we have a feedback say around the famous 250 low mid, which is a low mid 250 hertz, one of the main troublemaker that, right? Troublemaker frequencies. If we have a parametric EQ, right, we cannot cut 250 hertz without affecting the next 6 bands beside it, right? While if we have a graphic equalizer, we can simply go out and just cut to 150. I mean 250, right? The next troublemaker frequency is 1 kilohertz, right? Two more, them two frequencies are two of the most troublesome frequencies within the church circle. Now, four of them you have, right? You have 250 hertz, 1K, 2.5K, and 315K. The four troublemakers. For me, whenever I go on in a location and I'm tuning a system, those four frequencies are the first four frequencies I cut. Because once I know I cut them frequencies, I can push my system to a certain level without getting a feedback, right? So that is my little part for the time being. Brother Terrell.
Yes, sir.
I have a rope, I have a boogie now.
Okay,
Right.
sir. Thank you so much.
But like I say, organize it, and you carrying everything.
Yes.
Right? Just organize that day at church and so, and we just come back and get the people and come in, right? And we can have a proper demonstration and illustration of the whole thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like I said, to me, the hands-on is best.
Yeah, definitely. Amen.
Hands-on is best.
Thank you, Paul Pryce, for at least giving us an idea of frequency and the thing that we need to learn. I was trying to keep up. So I have a mixer that I invested in, so I'll be doing some experiments.
Yeah, you say, Brother Terrell, you say this thing, I know, like I say, you can't do it within a couple of minutes or a day.
Man, it's a lifetime.
You understand? It's a continuous learning process where this is concerned.
Thank you, Paul.
And like I say, you have different aspects of equalization. We just skim the surface.
Yeah.
Understand me?
So the point of this session today is to tell folks that there's another level. Give people an idea of that level, whet their appetite, and tell them jump in. So folks, drop your emails if you are indication. Some of you, I have your emails already. Drop an indication if you want this session, and we will arrange it and on Paul's time and see how it works. Thank you, Paul. All the best in your next assignment.